Fallmans, you are getting close, very, very, very close to actually running. What you're probably wondering is what is left? Well, obviously I need a bumper. I need to put the batteries in. I need to solder new ends onto the battery cable. I got a little bit of wiring right here to do. I've got to do the line that goes from your intercooler to your intake to the truck. So I'm going to re-weld the pipe, put an elbow and a few things to make it a little cleaner. On this side, I've got a new AC compressor that is on the engine, and that's a Chrysler. Now, here's the thing that's a little tricky. With the Chrysler AC compressor and a Ford body, lines aren't going to match. So I had to buy the lines that come off the compressor for a Dodge pickup, and then I had to get a couple lines from the Ford chassis to make this work. Now, you're probably thinking, okay, what are you talking about? So you have basically a radiator in front of the truck, that's a condenser, and from the condenser, then you got your compressor, then from your compressor you have a dryer, and then there's another line that goes in between, okay? So I got a new dryer, which is this canister right here. I don't need this, so I'll throw that away. I do need this right here. This goes to the canister. I had to cut these lines so I can see what size they are. And then this goes to my compressor. As you can tell, I had to cut those lines. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add these two that are Ford to this that's Chrysler or Dodge. And I got to crimp those ends. So yeah, we should be pretty good. The nice thing is I actually had one of the fittings to crimp, but the bad thing is this is a 3/4 line from the Ford, and this is a 5/8 from the Chrysler. So I had to go in town and try to find one, and line was really hard to find one. Somehow the parts store found one, had to specially order it, won't be here for about a week. So that's the gist with that. So my next step is I got to put this line in, cut the hose to the length that I need to, crimp this on. Once I get that line in, then I can put the boost turbo tube in, and then I can do my intake and then a couple other things. And then when I get the other part, I'll crimp the other end, and hopefully my AC lines will be all connected. So that's the gist with this thing. This line here is from the condenser. Don't need this. Let's go get a couple other lines. Alright, now that I got these hoses marked, I'm going to cut them to length, and then we'll crimp these ends on, then I can put this hose on. Well, yeah, you get the idea. So our local parts store, CarQuest, they gave us this because it has a bad trigger. When you push it, it doesn't engage unless you manually pull it down. They couldn't get the part, so they got a new one, and he gave it to me, so that's pretty sweet. Thanks, Jim. I'm going to use it to cut this hose because it cleans it, or cuts it fairly clean, and yeah, it's a little hydraulic cutter, chop saw thing, and I like it. Now I crimped it on, but I do not like how that turned out. That does not seem to be the right, I don't know what you want to call it, crimp collar. So I went in town to see if they had a new one of these splicer straights, and they didn't have one, but here's the thing that they did have. This is the right tube fitting on this hose. It's like the hose is a smaller diameter. But what they did have, and I was like, oh, sweet, that'll work. They have these little compressing collars that go over the hose. And that's the diameter that I need. So what I'm going to do, because I do not like how that looks, and that does not look like a professional job, and it also looks like it's going to have a bunch of problems in the future, I think you guys can agree with me on that, I'm going to cut those little gold zinc colored fittings off. I'm going to replace them with these, and then I'm going to crimp them. So that's my plan, and I hope it works out. So yeah, let's cut those off and try again. I mean, what can you do? It is what it is. Okay, got that taken care of. Now, looks like I'll have to drill these out a little bit to make that match in there, so let's go use a lathe. But I think that'll work out pretty well. At least I'm hoping it will. If not, well, I don't know. I'll figure it out. I always seem to. There we go. That looks a lot better. Let's just hope it doesn't leak. I need this one here. It needs a slide on. And then I've got marks. So I was smart about which way these need to be aligned. So there's a mark right here. And then there's a mark right here. So right like so. And just like that, we got it. Perfect. Now what I do need to do is I need to grab a bolt over here that goes into the back of the AC compressor pump. It's this one right here. I gotta find out, this isn't the, I don't have the correct length on that, so there we go. I think that'll work. Now, do I have a, there we go, lock washer. Perfect, I got a lock washer for that. So now if you look down, you can see how these are two different pipes. We didn't do this. Like I said many times, we didn't do the conversion of this truck. Whoever had it before us put a rubber joint there and tightened it down. Well, we kept having problems with it blowing the boost line off of the intercooler or right here or the turbo. So what I'm going to do is make it or figure out what I need to get this all lined up, and then take the tack welder and glue it all together, and then build a bracket to probably the engine to keep that to the engine so it doesn't blow off. And then I've also got to do a run here for my intake and have my filter here and build a bracket for that because it never had a bracket. So yeah, just got to figure out some stuff and should be good to go. That doesn't look too bad. I don't know. I guess I'll tack weld it and or glue it all the way together. So then what I'll do is I'll probably have a bracket somewhere off the alternator housing come over, and then so I can take the bracket off and then remove this tubing. But then that way it keeps this tubing solid with the motor. think that's the thing I'm gonna do. Let's pull this off and glue it together because I think I like it. I think I like how it looks. All right, let's stitch it together and clean it all up, blow it all out, throw some paint on it. Well, actually, no, I can't because I gotta put the bracket on it. But anyways, things to do to it. I think that'll work. It's not too bad. Made a bracket to support this here, and then I'll tighten that up. But what I need to do is paint the lines so they don't get all rusty, and the tubes. And then I just need to have 2 fittings to finish the AC up on this side, and then I have to have the EGT probe that goes in the turbo to see exactly what the temps are. This side's done after those things, which isn't a whole lot. Looks pretty decent for the most part, and I'm happy with it. It's going to serve a purpose. That's the main thing. And then on this side, I got to finish the battery cables. Got to do the turbo tube as well. Got to mount that bracket, those solenoids for the heater grid, and a couple other things, I'm sure. Add coolant to it, and I think we're good. I ended up making a new battery holder because the other one wasn't wide enough for the batteries I got that was supposed to be in this thing. And it was pretty hacked up, so is this one, but at least this one is pretty much uniform for the most part. So I'll put the 2 dual batteries here, and then it's actually really solid. I got that thing in there really well. And then I'll mount the batteries in there, figure out what length I need to cut these battery cables, and then make those ends for it. I could put a battery in there. Okay. They do not give batteries away these days. I'll tell you, my goodness, the price is ridiculous. And the sad thing is the core exchange. They don't give nothing away, or give you nothing for the core. They used to give some back in the old days. Man, I'm sounding old. But anymore, no. Okay. Good. I like that look. Now what I got to do is I got some battery cables, or ends that I need to solder on. Here they are. Even with the heat shrink. Perfect. What do I got here? I have a negative, positive, negative, positive. And you, I don't want you. Go put you back. You're not wanted. So, as you can tell, I think that'll work out well. And then I'll take this cable right here, I'll cut it, and I'll loop it around. And it'll go right through there. Okay, I like it. Well, I'd say that looks a lot better than having a straight shot here with a boot really twisted at an angle like it used to be. And nothing's rubbing on it, and it's clean, and it has room for the engine to flex with the frame. I think it'll be good. And the battery connections look pretty good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, as you can tell, there's 2 power cables coming off this one. I'm going to take that and put it onto a bank. So that way I can add, like if I have a light bar or a 2-way radio or other electronics and stuff that I need to add power to, I'll put one of these units. This one's a ground unit. This one here I believe is a power. Yep, there we go. So there's the power. So this here, I'll have to figure out where I want to mount it on the chassis. And then I got to crimp an end or solder an end onto that battery cable. So that way this has power. You get what I'm doing? Of course you do. Makes perfect sense. That thing right there. Perfect. So now the question is, where do I put this thing? You know what I could do is if I've welded a bracket onto the battery mount that I made with this sticking up here, but then you're gonna have a bunch of cables. Yeah, I gotta figure this out. This might be a little bit. Awesome! Well, let's try to see if we get this thing to start. It might take a little bit to try to get the fuel in the fuel system. There's a lot of error, I'm sure, so probably a lot of cranking. I tried priming on the side of the block where they have the fuel pump. You got a little push knob. I kept pushing on it for a while, never felt anything, but I think it might be easier to just crank it over. There is a leak of coolant underneath here, but we found out where it is. This little plastic reservoir here has got a crack in it. We filled it up. Well, it's just going to seep out of it. But other than that, I think we're good to go. Still waiting on the fittings for the AC lines, but I want to try to start it and see what happens. And those should be here today or tomorrow. But I think overall it turned out fairly well. For a farm truck, it's perfect. Let's wait for Nick. He's going to show up here in a little bit. He's driving from his house over here, and then we'll fire it up. We're waiting for you, Nick. All right. What do you guys think? Try it? Crank it over? You want to do the honors, Nick, or do you want me to do the honors?
Sure, I forgot how to start it, though.
How do you start it? Can you show us the routine? Okay, show the process. How do you do this thing?
Let's see. Get it out of gear. Ooh, I haven't felt that. And
Okay.
then take this.
What's the red knob for?
It's the start knob. So you grab it, pull it down like that, like you're
Okay.
shifting it in gear, but you're not actually going in gear.
That engages the fuel pump, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And put the clutch in just for the safety.
I could go underneath and try to prime the fuel pump again, or we could try blowing some fuel or air into the fuel tank. No oil puking anywhere.
It's sure it's priming, it just...
We could try tapping a little bit ether to help it. I kind of don't want to, but...
see if we have a primer.
The primer is on the... Yeah, those are pretty much empty.
Crack the fuel filter at all. See if we can get fuel going to that at all.
Is it even getting tight?
It doesn't feel like it. I mean, I feel it's got a heavy spring on it, so I can feel the pressure of the spring, but I don't really
we could
feel it
try.
squishing.
We could try cracking that filter a little bit and see if we get... Or we take the filter off and put some fuel in it.
You could do that too.
Oh, the starter's cold, so that's a cool deal. I'll just do this. If you want to get an air hose and blow in the fuel tank.
Well, the filter has fuel in it. I don't know. Try cranking it again.
All right, well, let me get out of here. Hey, it lives! Look at that! No puddles underneath the truck. That's a good sign. We missed it. Oh, we missed this truck. It's good to have this thing back. Good deal. Awesome. We're probably gonna have to check the transmission fluid a little bit because some of it drained out.
Did it? Okay.
But we might as well, honestly, we might as well drop it and put new fluid in there.
Sweet, good job. Nailed it.
Yes.
Success. Good deal. Now we can put the hood on and do a few minor details to it, and then it should be good to go. Cool. Hood's on.
Sweet. Good job. I'll take it for a drive.
I don't think he likes the camera. He's camera shy. Hey, guess what? My EGT exhaust probe came. So now I can put it on the exhaust manifold. Now this is before the turbo. What's nice about this is whoever tapped that manifold put it on the back part of the manifold, which is getting hotter from the pistons and right before the turbo, instead of putting it after the turbo. Because your heat is actually going to be a lot more, well, intense before the turbo than after. So I don't know what it is, like could be 100 degrees, could be 50 degrees less after the turbo, but this is more accurate. So sweet, let's put this thing in here and then I can wire it up and then keep it away from the exhaust manifold so it doesn't cook those lines. But that's perfect. Look at that. It was meant to be. So here's the old one. When I pulled the engine like a year and a half, 2 years ago, I could not get it out of the manifold from there, so I just cut it and said, all right, I'm gonna put a new one on. So sometimes you just have to do that. So anyways, cool, got that taken care of. Okay, I got the AC fittings that I need so we can finish this up. There's a 90-degree elbow that's on the 5/8 hose, and I got that crimped down there. And then what I had to do, because they did not have it, which was a 3/4 to 5/8 adapter. So went on the lathe, made this little adapter. They had some little crimp collars. Not entirely sure what they call those, but they had them in stock, which was awesome. So now I just have to crimp the last hose on, which is this right here that goes to the dryer, and then add some oil to the system to lubricate the AC pump, and then put a vacuum on it, check to see if there's any leaks, and hopefully it holds vacuum. And then we'll put some 134A coolant or antifreeze or stuff in it. And then for the most part, this truck should be done. And then my dad went ahead and changed the rear yoke seal on the rear end. It was leaking a little bit, it was just old, crusty seal. So he changed that. He put new fluid in it for the transmission, which is ATF fluid. And I put a new filter on it, the transmission, so we should be good to go on that. And then I've got a oil pressure sensor here and a little deal for that as well. I'll put that on, and then for the most part, I think the Fummins is pretty much ready to do some burnouts. Probably should break it in before we do a burnout. Or you do the burnout to break it in. I don't know, we'll figure it out. So, and a new filter. I think that's a smart move to put a new filter on a brand new motor. Okay, let's finish this up. Now, on this tool here to compress the hose and crimp it, they have a mark here that I gotta watch, and I don't want to crimp it past that mark because you might have problems. So you want it straight level with that mark, which I got it. That was the last crimp. Let's back it off, let's take it out, and then let's see how it looks. I'm hoping it looks okay. Okay, there we go. Now, will it fit? Oh, yeah, there you go. That's exactly what I wanted to see. It's a little tight down there. Now I'm going to go ahead and try to figure out a bracket to support that AC line from banging around down there, because there's a little tight to the frame, and so it doesn't rub on anything. But the AC lines are crimped and pretty much ready to go. Once I get that bracket figured out, then I can put the oil in the system and see if I have vacuum tight coolant system. All right, I've got this vacuum. It's not a pump because you use the air from the air compressor to create a vacuum to suck the air out of the system. And I just went ahead and shut the valve. So I got a pretty good vacuum on it. Disconnect this. I'm gonna walk away for a little bit, and then I'm gonna come back and look at that valve. Now before, what I did is, as I was creating a vacuum on the low pressure side, I hooked on a hose to the high pressure side and then put about 3 ounces of oil. A couple forums online was saying about 3 ounces of oil. The AC compressor is already pre-charged to oil, so I don't have to worry about that. But you don't want to put too much oil in the system, but you don't want too little. So you kind of want to find a happy medium. So I figured 3 ounces would be good with it pre-charged in the compressor. And so there's oil in the system now, and so far it's holding. I don't know for sure how well it's going to be until I come back in a little bit and check it. We'll find out. Hopefully it holds. Good deal. So far, I've got oil pressure, I've got coolant temperature, I've got EGT temperature, I've got voltage.
Boost.
And boost is working pretty good. I'd say this thing is ready to work. I don't know about you. And there we go. Holy criminy. It just spins those back tires.
It needs some weight on it. Yeah, you can't get traction, it just breaks free.